Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch the Movie. I'm Mike and he's Jay, and today we're reviewing this piece of shit.
We watched a movie. Yeah. We watched a movie. We watched it. We watched a movie. Yeah. You know what? We did a review. We watched a movie.
That shit should be connected.
Yeah, you know, like his helmet in the movie, like how it's like just like separated from the rest of his costume. It looks like a swimmer's helmet from like the 1920s. Like, I'm gonna go diving.
But he also looks like a devil baby. But that looks like a devil baby had sex with Michael Phelps.
That would be disgusting.
Yeah.
Daredevil, Ben Affleck. I mean, the basic story, if you've read comics at all, a blind kid, or he saw his dad do some bad shit with a mafia guy, and he gets blinded and he gets superpowers. From this radioactive shit that hits his eyes, where he's blind but he can hear all this stuff, and it's like a radar sense.
And years later, they'll cast Ben Affleck to play him.
Did you ever like watch the movies? Like, I wonder if I'll probably squirt my eyes with like bug killer if I'll get like some toxic shit. I'll throw some toxic shit on. It didn't work. I'm really blind. Yeah. So this movie is shit. It's shit, and it'd been a while since I've seen this movie, and I was like, well, I have a soft spot in my butt for it, so I'll give it a shot again. And then I watched it, I was
You
like...
got a soft spot in your butt for a lot of things.
So, but all I was saying was, like, I thought I'd give it another shot, but obviously it's not going to pan out because this movie is still a turd. It was turd then, it's a turd now. It's really fucking bad.
And the whole reason we're doing this is because Ben Affleck was just cast as Batman, who we think will be a good Batman,
Yeah.
who I'm excited to see play Batman. But, I mean, it did blow up in our face a little bit. Because part of the reason I want to review this movie is because, like, I want to pay attention to it, and I want to watch Ben Affleck as a superhero. And I want to be able to say, see, it's not his fault, it was the movie around him.
Yeah, I was talking to my brother the other day, and I was trying to give Ben Affleck every excuse in the world. I was like, no, it's the script. I mean, it's the script. He had bad lines. I'm like, no, fuck it. He was horrible in it. I was like, you killed everyone in my family. Why? And he was like, spit that out, and debris was coming out of his mouth. I'm like, holy shit. Dude.
But to his credit, this movie was the worst script of all fucking time.
Bad.
It was
so
one of the worst scripts of all fucking time. It was one of the worst directed movies I've ever seen in my life. The only cool part in this movie that actually works with Daredevil, that Ben Affleck looked cool in, that the movie was cool in, was when the Seether song "Hang On" plays, and he wakes up in his like vat, and he wakes up in the water or whatever.
I wanted that. I wanted that bad.
Yeah, he's all beaten down and shit like that, and they're like, do.
I gave my life away.
And he's like putting his shit together. That was badass. Apart from that, no.
Except when I was always curious when I was younger, then I watched that movie for the first time, and I was like, how did he style his hair?
It was very like
I know, it was style perfect. Did you go to a salon?
And frost tips. No.
And
no, superheroes don't have fucking frost tips.
Well, then I didn't
Reed Richards.
He has like skunk tips.
I know.
But yeah, the only thing I didn't get was like when he was laying in that bed of water. I was like, what if he rolled over? He's fucked. Like, he'll drown.
Ow!
No, he'll drown. He'll go, oh! 1 teaspoon, guys, of fucking in your lungs and you're dead. Water. Anyway, yeah, so, I mean, the whole thing, like, there was no character development. All these characters that they introduced in this movie were, like, fucking... It was, like, literally glossed over and splashed on. They're like, here you go, I'm gonna slap your shit, and here you go. Bullseye's, Colin Farrell, which I like Colin Farrell. The thing is, I'll get into bullshit in a minute. The thing about this whole thing was it had a good cast. It really did. I mean, you look at it on paper, Michael Clarke Duncan, Ben Affleck, Jennifer Garner, Colin Farrel, the guy who plays Ben Urich, I don't remember his name, but he's a good actor too. Those guys are all in this movie like, it might work, it's going to be a pretty good movie, and then it's just like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, that's all thing. It's bad direction and terrible script writing. That's all I can say.
Well, you know what I think happened, and I actually honestly believe this. I think the director got so caught up, because it came out in 2003, so it was in between the X-Men and Spider-Man and all that shit going on. So I think he got caught up and was like, you know what, I want to make a dark, serious, kind of gritty movie, but then I want to make it comic booky and fun and light at the same time. And he was like, I gotta balance this, and he couldn't balance it. He was like, whoops!
It was like Batman Forever, but shitty.
Well, the thing is like, it would get confusing. Like, you'd be like ready, and it would set a tone and a theme for this kind of movie, and then you'd be like, okay, I get it's where they're going now, and then it would just get, it lost what the fuck. I mean, you literally have a scene where he's like, talking about, they're expressing or emoting how tortured of a soul he is and how hard it is for him, and then all of a sudden he's fighting in the park with a girl, like out of Greece.
That right there was where the movie was like,
and that whole scene with the whole park scene when he goes up to Jennifer Garner, Elektra, oh my god, Elektra nachos. It sounds like a Mexican appetizer.
Oh god.
The whole thing with that though, when they meet in the park and he's like, does every guy have to go through this to get your name? And they're like, he's taking his jacket off and they're like circling each other.
That scene is where the movie was like, this is a shit movie.
I was like,
officially at that point.
But he walks out to get her name and number or whatever, but it's like then they get into like a little bit like of a Raskillian kind of fight in the park, and I'm like, what the shit?
What if you did that in real life? What if you followed some hot chick and you're like, hey, what's your name?" She's like, "I'm not giving you my number," and you were just like, and she was like,
Chopper?
"What the fuck? I'm calling the cops."
Well, that would be great when you go to jail and be butthurt. So
Exactly.
But yeah, so that didn't even make sense. That was so off kilter. And then you got Bullseye, who's introduced all of a sudden, and it was like he's so stupid in this movie. It's like he does all these like expressions. He's like
he's always just like
when he kills that guy on the bar, and he's like, "You're just a piece of Irish scum," and they're like, "Aha," and he goes. It's like Bullseye. I get what they were trying to go with Bullseye, but Bullseye is a crazy motherfucker, and he gets off on sick jokes, but he's dark as shit. He's not like a loony, stupid, moronic, cartoony guy, and that's what they made him out to.
They made him a trashy ass guy in the bar.
Yeah, but he was just like, and then I didn't get, like he's talking to Kingpin, which Michael Clarke Duncan. By the way, Michael Clarke Duncan had the presence and the ability to play.
He
this
could have
guy.
been Kingpin in the right.
Yeah,
movie.
but it was just bad delivery on script. Like the way he delivered the lines and the script was just bad. But when he's talking to Kingpin, Colin as Bullseye, he's like, "I need a costume," and he's like, "Where's the costume?" He comes out later on. He's got like you look the same.
Best part though is when he kills that old lady. She's like talking, and he kills her with peanuts. He's like, "Can I get you anything else?" She's like, "Oh, can I get you anything else?" So he's like, "Peanuts, more peanuts."
Small. He says, "Please, like more peanuts, please." And then he was like, there was just so like the interactions and the chemistry between the characters sucked. And when they would talk to each other, you were just like, this is obviously for money. Like Michael Clarke Duncan asked him, he's like, "How do you kill a man without fear?" And he's like, "By putting the fear in him." He's like, "I like that." I was like, okay, that's cool. So are you in sex school?
And the fighting scenes were cool.
Yeah, they were
at times.
cool.
Like
Yeah.
cool. That first scene where he goes into that pool bar or whatever, and he beats all their ass. That was pretty cool. I like how they did that for a second there. But then you got Ben Affleck when he's like interrogating people, and like I said, we wanted to watch it. I still think Ben Affleck will be a great Batman. This is a different time in his career. Everybody in this movie was bad. Are you telling me Michael Clarke Duncan's a shitty actor? No, it was terrible script writing and terrible direction. And I'm not making all the excuses for him. He was bad himself. I just don't think he was seasoned enough in his career at that point to do what he could do with the Batman.
And I know a lot of people have an issue with the costume and stuff. I didn't really have an issue with the costume except for the helmet. I thought the helmet could have been attached and made it look a little better. The leather part of it didn't bother me because, everybody was going with that whole, like, latex, like, dark black shit,
X-Men.
like X-Men. And Spider-Man was even doing that weird latex stuff. So they were like, let's just go with the leather and make it look good. And it actually didn't look bad on camera. But it was just like the helmet didn't attach and just looked off. It just looked weird.
And not only that, but Ben Affleck... I really do think it was direction here. Ben Affleck's a good actor. I mean, we've seen him act really good in a lot of fucking movies by now. But at the same time, in this movie, he acted like someone was like tickling his butthole every time he talked. He was like, "Where is he?"
Just like when he was like, when Elektra came out of the confrontation, he was like, "I didn't kill your father." He's like, he's ducking and shit. He's like, "It was an assassin named Bullseye." I was like, "Well, I remember my first day of acting." It's like, I was like, "Holy shit!" And it's just, but I mean, and Jennifer Garner, the whole Elektra character, she's actually a very important part in the Daredevil storyline.
They made a whole fucking movie.
And she was ridiculously
Did you ever
stupid.
watch Elektra?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I watched like one scene. I watched it when she made out with another girl. I was like, that's all right.
Oh,
but,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's it. Like she's laying on the ground, this other girl like kisses her. I'm like, well, that's worth it. It's like I didn't, but I fast forwarded that part, paused it, played it, went away.
Yeah,
no,
that's cool.
But I did.
That's what my wife said when we watched this. She's like, I wonder if they got married just because they bond over how shitty of a movie.
It must have been. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking. I really don't. I guess they were just like, nobody's going to give a shit about this movie, so let's just throw all these characters at people's faces. And I mean, Kingpin is a huge character in not only Daredevil, but in Spider-Man. They both interplay. And Punisher, they all three have interactions with Kingpin, which I did love the soundtrack. The soundtrack was badass.
He's got a good soundtrack.
But when they have that whole thing with House of Bands, like, top of the morning to you, and like it just, that's Bullseye for you. Like, he's just this Irish boy. He's like, I missed. I never miss. I mean, it's just like, it's so corny. It's cheesy as fuck.
Yeah.
Cheesy puffs.
The total. That's what this movie comes down to. It's just fucking cheesy and terrible.
But then again,
John Favreau's good.
Yeah, but it's John Favreau.
It's funny that he plays the same role.
I know, but I think he really took this movie as a learning lesson. He's like, I'm gonna do everything that I'm gonna do in Iron Man and not use this movie. He's like, it's a good learning experience. So when they were like, we're gonna hire you on for Iron Man director, he was like, I'm not gonna make a Daredevil. That's probably what he said. So
yeah. So I'm gonna give it a 4.
Yeah, it's gonna be like 4.0. I'm gonna give it a 4.5. I think it's a guilty pleasure movie. Like if you're like watching it on TV, if it happens to come on, you like, if you're in your underwears eating like Doritos, you're like, well,
it's a movie you can watch for a minute, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's why I fucking hate this movie.
You know what? I don't think the director understood at the same time. Was like Daredevil is more like Batman, honestly, in my opinion, than Punisher is, because Punisher crossed that line. Daredevil's a tortured, damaged person. I mean, he's a fucking guy that has a crisis of faith. He's blind. He works in Hell's Kitchen. He beats the shit out of criminals, but at the same time, he's trying to toe the line and be a good person.
And they touch. Every so often they just slightly touched. The fucking
Did they do like Eskimo kisses?
the essence of Daredevil.
Yeah, that's
like
what I mean.
the scene where he's beating the shit out of the guy and the kid's crying and he's like, I'm not the bad guy.
Yeah, but
that scene right there, it was good.
But I know, but then he's sitting on the rooftop going, I'm not the bad guy. Like, but I'm just saying, like, yes, he is. I think the equivalent of Batman in the Marvel universe. I really do. I mean, you gotta think he's got the same characteristics as like a Batman-esque kind of character versus Punisher, who's too much of a psycho and kills people. But they could. And I guess that's what makes me so mad about this movie is because they could have done such a great, gritty, dark drama movie.
Joe Carnahan, the director of The Grey and Smoking Aces, came out and he had a rated R version of this movie, of a new Daredevil that he was going to make, and he brought it to Fox, and they didn't act on it fast enough, and it didn't work out. That would have been badass.
Well,
this movie still does need to be made.
If he went to Fox with it and he had a great, dark, gritty, rated R movie, and they were like, no, we're not going to do that. It's like, take your panties off and put your underwear on and get it to it. I mean, get the fuck over it. Yes, it's a rated R. It's a comic book movie, but it can be dark and serious. They proved that with Christopher Nolan's Batman.
Yeah.
So now, anyway, I hope they remake
right.
this Daredevil. I really hope that Daredevil gets remade because it's one of those characters that deserves a fucking good movie.
Definitely.
So is the Punisher. I mean, it's in the same category.
Definitely. So, and like we're saying, like, while I wouldn't want Ben Affleck to play Daredevil again, and he was offered Daredevil again, and to direct it, and he refused it. Ben Affleck's not a good Daredevil. Doesn't mean he can't be a great Batman, and you can't hold this movie against him years later. How much great shit has he done since this movie? So, guys, what did you think of Daredevil? What's your rating of Daredevil? And I'm Mike. He's Shay. We'll see you next time on
Go Power Rangers.
I missed.
We watched a movie. Yeah. We watched a movie.